Hi guys, it's me. It's Tiffany. You're here for Tiffany TV. Today with a little bit of extra sparkle because it is New Year's Eve, one of my favorite days of the year. Not only because I get to spend it with my friends mostly and do really fun things and dance and have really good food, but also because it is the signal, at least in our minds, that it is a new year. Now, energetically speaking, there are lots of people that believe that the new year is not actually on January the 1st, that there are other different types of calendars that would explain that there would be a different type of new year. And some people look at the spring, at the end of the winter, once everything is died and like been resting and it starts growing again, as the signal of a new energy and a new formation of things where birth is coming out rather than it being in the middle of the winter. But I still really love New Year's. It's definitely an excuse to wear sparkles. And this shirt in particular shows my tattoo off really good. So I am feeling it. I am feeling it. So, what are we going to talk about today? Today, we are talking about what happens on New Year's really when people make all of these promises that they aren't likely going to keep, which is sort of frustrating. Not for other people. Other people don't care. It's like you go to the gym for the first month of the year and then you just don't go for the rest of the year. Nobody cares. They might not even notice that you're not there. But really your body is going to benefit if you continue, if you make that commitment and you continue that devotion and honor to your body for the extent of the entire year rather than just giving up. But the statistic that I've read in the book Finish by Jon Acuff is that 92% of people who make a New Year's resolution fail. Or not fail necessarily, they just don't continue on with what their New Year's resolution was. So 8% of the people at the end of the year who made a commitment to do something for that year actually follow through and get to the end of the year and have done what they said they're going to do. What do you think that's telling us? Could be telling us all kinds of things. It could be telling us that we have completely unreasonable expectations. We set ourselves up for what we perceive as failure or what the rest of society deems as failure, or we are looking at it in the wrong way, and what is failure is actually the first attempt in learning. And if we could just move past the day past perfect, right? Where you think that everything needs to be exactly perfectly in a certain way. And if it's not that way, then you just might as well give up. If we could just move beyond that day, which Jon Acuff highlights and talks about so much in his book, and I love this book so much. He's super funny too, which makes it really easy to read. But if we could just move past this day where we think that everything, when it's not perfect, just means that we just give up on the whole thing rather than just saying, oh, I made this one little choice that maybe wasn't really fully encompassing everything that I want, but I can take that in stride and just move past that and still the next day, tomorrow, do the best that I can. That's all I can do. So I believe that we as people, we overestimate what we can do in 1 year. Generally, we kind of say, oh, I'm going to do all of these things and I'm going to accomplish all this stuff. And then at the end of the year, you're like, whoa, that was way too much. I can remember a time when I was a young mother and I used to get out this journal and I had like 10 sections of my life that I used to write goals and things that I wanted to accomplish within each one of these sections. There was like 5 or 6 things. So it was projects on my house, it was personal development, it was arts and crafts projects that I wanted to do. It was like for work because I was running my own business at that time. It was with my children. It was with my husband. I had all these different sections. And then all of a sudden, I would be paralyzed by the overwhelming weight of my own expectation. It wasn't any expectation from any other person other than myself. And so we overestimate what we can accomplish in 1 year, but then we underestimate what we can do in 10 years. So what I was finding was over time, because every year I would go back and go, oh, did I actually do this? Did we do this? Did we do this? I was finding that if I went, even if I didn't finish it by the end of that year, if I went back a few years, then I was actually finishing more of the things that I had set forward as goals than I had originally planned out in 1 year. And is it because we just take the pressure off of us and we don't feel like it's necessary to overachieve within a certain period of time? Or is it that it's not even really possible physically to do all of the things that we put before us? Now, I am a doer. And so as a doer, I generally put more on my plate than, let's say, a beer would, because beers are okay to just be, and doers really just want to do and do and do and do and do. So that's typical of my personality. But what I realized is when I started shifting around what my goals were, and instead of saying, I'm going to add all these things into my life, and I'm going to add, I'm going to put, like, squeeze every spare minute full of something that I am trying to accomplish. Instead, I started letting things go. And my resolution every year for New Year's is not that I say, oh, I'm going to add this thing in and now I'm going to do this extra thing. I actually say, what am I not going to do this year? And I'll tell you what, it is much easier. So 1 year, for example, it was like, I'm going to stop judging. I'm going to stop judging people. I'm going to stop judging other people based on maybe preconceived ideas that I have. It was really a challenge at work where I was like trying not to judge people. And I was like, I'm not going to judge myself. If all of a sudden I'm not doing everything that I said that I was going to do, I'm not going to judge other people's behavior because I don't really know what's going on with them that day, what their sort of things that they're holding on to, their trauma or their challenges or anything that is causing them to react in a certain way. I'm not going to judge. Then 1 year it was, I'm not going to gossip. I'm not going to talk about people behind their backs. I'm not going to talk shit. Every time I am going to have a conversation, it's going to be about positive things, and it's not going to be about telling stories and reinforcing stories about people, about myself, about my relationship, about my children, about my parents, about anyone. I'm just going to live in the moment and say, if that's not happening in this exact moment, then it doesn't really matter. I don't need to talk about it. I don't need to reinforce and reaffirm this story one way or another. Okay, so I want to tell you about my favorite thing about New Year's. And I have been doing this for a really long time. So as you can see, these are all of my letters. And these are actually letters that I write to myself. So this one I started in 2011. And it was actually an idea that was given to me in recovery when I went to a women's group for addictions recovery. And we were writing a letter to ourselves in 2010 that we gave to our counselor that she then mailed back to us on New Year's of 2011. And the idea was that we were writing a letter to ourselves, not only of encouragement and of love, and yeah, we wanted to put things before us and set goals and set intentions and stuff like that. But it was more so to see how far we had come in that 1 year. And I will tell you what is the funniest thing about this is that it took me like 5 years of getting these letters in the mail to even remember who they were coming from. I didn't even recognize my own handwriting on the mail. I was like, oh, this is weird. I never get anything in the mail other than bills. This isn't fun. And then it was actually the best part of my January was that I would get this letter in the mail from myself. And I will say, I have written some pretty incredible things into my life. Like when I look back at the year that we took our kids out of school and we did our trip around the world, and the letter that I had written to myself before that basically wrote and spoke the whole thing into our lives. So I'm going to say it again, write it down, make it happen. That book is incredible. I clearly need to read it myself. But that concept of you actually putting into physicality your hopes, your dreams, your wishes onto a piece of paper, it makes it more real. It makes it so that everything in the universe is conspiring to help you achieve exactly what you want for your life. So I write myself a letter, and these letters have become quite extensive because, as you can see now, this one is actually 2 letters that are stapled together, and one of them I read the night before, and then the next one I read the next day, because I write myself a letter in between there. And then I also write myself another letter after I've read the second one. And I usually do like a recap of the year. So I will write down just all the most important parts and things that happened in that year and put it in my letter for the next year so that I can again review and reflect from the whole year before. Yeah, it's super fun. I really, really love it. And it has always brought me so much joy. And the fact that we are here and we're at the time when I get to open my letter, I'm super, super, super excited. I wait all year for this. And my friends all know that when I'm out for New Year's, I'm going to take my little moment, my Tiffany moment, and go by myself and just read my letter. And it's fun. They always ask me what it said, what it had in it, what sort of special moments, highlights we'll call them, that I can share with them. And then we as girls also do something together that I find really exciting and fun, is that we pick cards. And I have value cards that are a beautiful deck of cards that have just their virtues and values. And we as friends have always chosen words that we are going to, oh, look, and here are my words right here for 2024. Look at that. They're right there. Devotion, excitement, and prosperity. So we choose 3 words that are going to be what we are infusing with our words and our vibrations and our energy into the year before us. And the extension of that is that we have these beautiful value cards that we each pick 3 together, and then we talk about them, and then we share our values with one another, and we see what we think it had to do, like how it reflected on the year past, and then how we think that it might be brought into the year forward. So let's see what else are my New Year's rituals? Because I do have quite a few. Oh, for the last 3 years, so I'll be going on my 4th year, I also do the Rebecca Campbell end of year review, which I love her. If you don't know her, she writes so many amazing books. One called Light is the New Black. And then also Rise, Sister, Rise. And I think she has a new one out actually that I don't have yet, but I will definitely be getting. Rebecca Campbell. And you can go, I'll put the link in the description, but her end of year review I find really detailed, and I find it really nice. It does a reflection back. There's a beautiful exercise. There's an intention setting for the year forward. There's another beautiful exercise. And then there's a place where you can actually place cards and understand the reading for your year from her oracle cards, that sort of give you an idea of what your direction and what your focus is for that year. So I do that. And then my last one, which I did last year for the very first year, was with Dira International. And it is a 5-day boot camp for the beginning of the year. And it is an intention setting and like a goal setting, which I really appreciate because it incorporates the skill of channel. And so you ask questions to divine, and divine moves through you and then sort of gives you like a prophecy or a vision for your life and your year for the next upcoming time. I would love to hear about your New Year's resolutions. What do you do? What do you do as a New Year's ritual? Do you spend it with friends? Do you go dancing? Do you dress up in sparkles? I would love to hear what it is what do you do for New Year's? Okay, wow, that is Tiffany TV for right now. Let's think of a call to an inspired action. I would say our call to inspired action is to write a letter to yourself that you are going to put in a very safe space, in a safe space that you remember. So don't just like put it somewhere and then forget. You could maybe put a note in your phone for the next January that has exactly where you put your letter. I have friends of mine that do it, and then they lose their letter. They're like, I have no idea where my letter went. I'm like, well, you're going to find it someday, and then it'll be an even bigger surprise. I would say your call to inspired action, write yourself a letter and then save it someplace special and just see what kind of magic and dreaming you are weaving into the following year for 2025. I have a feeling that 2025 is going to be a big, big year. I think it's going to be a big year for a lot of people. Yeah, definitely. Okay, I love you. I am going to do a channeled message from Divine for tomorrow. I will post it there. Ciao for now.